Redditors whose jobs involve going inside homes, what's the most disturbing thing you've found? Realtors, home inspectors, plumbers, house cleaners, or any other job that requires you to enter a private home to do your work can open the door to a whole lot of unexpected disturbing sights and smells. A recent AskReddit thread invited people to share the weirdest encounter they had when entering a customer's residence. It looks like they aren't a sight for sore eyes. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to Starface Productions and hit the bell icon for more AskReddit answer videos you can watch during quarantine. Also, press the thumbs up button if you find this video utterly disturbing. These are the weirdest, most disturbing things Redditors have seen while working in a customer's house. Kinky, Dirk Diggler 420. I was doing electrical work for a man in his 70s that lived in the partially finished basement of the house and rented out the topside. I had to go in his bedroom eventually and found dildos and nude male pictures on the walls and a young Vietnamese boy in a robe with his legs crossed while he very daintily rubbed lotion on them. Very uncomfortable. Not a good room. Level 0. Paramedic. I've seen a lot of weird and disgusting living conditions. Most of the worst places are occupied by hoarders and are overflowing with trash, feces, roaches, lice, and bedbugs. By far the worst place, or at least the one that stands out in my mind, was some sort of boarding house for men. My partner opened the door to our patient's room and immediately closed it again, gagging. He walked out of the building and nearly refused to go back in. The room was caked in human feces, all over the floor, walls, ceiling, everywhere. You could barely distinguish the shit-covered human from the shit-covered mattress on the floor. The smell was so overwhelming we had to wear our service-issued gas mask while extricating him. This poor man had a nasty wound on his leg that had prevented him from getting out of bed, so he just lay there, soiling himself and flinging shit around the room for weeks, until someone finally called for help for him. Apathetic. Requisite name. For 5 years, I worked on a health survey for the Center for Disease Control, talking to people all over America. In Orange County, California, I went to a beautiful mansion on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The lady of the house was a stunningly beautiful young Spanish woman who ushered me into their massive dining hall and sat me at a huge oak table. She told me I would have to speak to her husband. I waited several minutes before he arrived. He was much older than his wife and presented himself with an attitude that he was deigning to grant me a short audience. He sat in a high-backed, throne-like chair while I asked my survey questions about his health. He told me his age was 48 and that he had survived 2 heart attacks. I then came to the portion of the survey where I asked about emotional support. I asked, when you are sad or under stress, is there anyone to whom you can talk who provides you with emotional support and comfort? The man looked at me with obvious contempt and said slowly in a thick Castilian accent, "A man has no need for such a thing." Weird furniture. Quell Litzwell. I'm a social worker, and I do not mean for this to be racist, but I had a client who was from China and lived in China, but his surrogate had his children in the United States. Part of my job is to assess the home for the safety of the kids so they can live there. This man from China bought a mansion, and when I went to assess it, it was nuts. Everything in the home was big cardboard cutouts. Furniture, oven, refrigerator, beds, phone, tables, chairs, everything. I assumed maybe they had set them in place because they were buying those items and wanted to see where they'd go nicely. But nope. The nanny said the home had been lived in for months. Told the lady there was no way I was going to recommend court to let the kids in a big-ass empty house with cardboard. But she kept trying to convince me everything was real. I seriously thought she was a robot. Trying to get attention. Back to Bach. During college, I tuned pianos in people's homes to make extra money. I was tuning the grand piano at the home of a younger university psychology professor while only his wife was home. As I tuned the strings, she would occasionally waltz by in next to nothing, just enough to take my attention off the tuning pins and tighten my grip on the tuning hammer. Deep freeze. Hiding in the webs. My husband used to be a repair tech for a major department store. One day, he got a service call for an old lady's fridge. Other techs was razzing on him, but he was still pretty new at the time, and it happened a lot. So he didn't pay any particular attention. He gets to the house, opens the doors to the fridge, freezer, and a Pomeranian is staring at him from the freezer. This old lady's dog had died 10 years previously and she just put the body on the freezer. All the other techs had been out of this house over the years, so they were aware of the situation, hence the razzing. My husband about shit himself, then just went ahead and fixed the fridge and told her to have a nice day. She was very grateful that her dog wouldn't defrost. He had some crazy house calls, women in lingerie, a legit gypsy family that tried to put a curse on him, dirty houses, etc. But the Pomeranian always sticks out in mind. Weird woman. Slap crackle pop. My best friend and I used to clean houses together. We went to a job where the woman who answered the door had some peculiar baldness going on. The entire top of her head had sores, with a few scraggly whips of hair here and there, with a ring of thin hair below it, sort of like a donut. I assumed she had cancer and was losing her hair, and didn't think much more about it until she showed us to the kitchen. Sitting there in a huge cast iron cage was a dove with a nearly identical pattern of baldness, with missing feathers and sores on its head. It was the most uneasy 2 hours we'd ever spent cleaning. Refurnishing. Imitation crab meat man. I used to have a job refurbishing repossessed mobile homes. You get used to the trash people leave behind. Dishes, sometimes toys, food in the refrigerator, etc. Toiletries and hair care products people seemingly collected over 100 years. Literally, why so many? 3 different brands of pomade? You get used to the seemingly inconsistent structural damage. Ma'am, at what point did you become aware you no longer have a ceiling? And having to fix problems that only neglect can inflict? The weirdest one by far though was this trailer we were told only needed new cabinets and a paint job, and the entirety of the interior was bright purple. Nothing was cut in right. It looked like a child painted it. 2 of the 7 total cabinets in the kitchen were missing, and there was a hole in the bathroom floor that, no exaggeration, took up 60% of the bathroom's area that extended underneath the bathtub. I feel it's worth noting that the hole in the bathroom didn't seem to be due to water damage. The wood wasn't rotted, and 2x6s that made up the base was old but intact. It looked like someone had ripped up and broken the panels, like a girl who, upon seeing you have a hole in your shirt, rips an even bigger hole in your shirt than was already there. Towards the bathtub side of the hole and underneath it, we found 7 boxes of Little Debbie fudge rounds completely unopened. I used to have pictures. I swear to Christ, I wish I could still back this shit up. There also wasn't the normal trash that you would come to expect rebuilding these things. Rather than discarded toys or hair care products, the previous occupants had stapled stuffed animals to the walls of some of the rooms. Keep in mind, there was no other decoration in the house. On my mama, the microwave looked like something out of Silent Hill 2, coated in a reddish-brown substance that stuck like saran wrap over veiny cobwebs and shit. Don't even get me started on the roaches. Strange old couple. Toasted dad. I work on mobile homes and went to fix a sewage problem at a 60-plus-year-old lady's house. Mind you, I was 22 at the time. She answered the door in full lingerie and directed me to the master bedroom, where the leak was happening. Considering the bathroom smelled like the purest night soil ever slopped out of a human being, I wondered why she thought it was a good idea to try to seduce me. It wasn't as if I were interested in the first place. Regardless, she proceeds to lay in her bed watching me, while I pull up the toilet to see if it's a simple wax ring job. I tried closing the door, but she would open it under the guise of needing some cosmetic thing. Fast forward 30 minutes, and her husband gets home, strips down to his undies, and begins fondling his wife with no covers, while I'm covered in their shit working on a sewage leak. Fuck this crazy pervy shit. I'm leaving. They reported me to the sales slot. Upon hearing my story, I wasn't blamed. I installed a new wax and toilet flange that didn't fix their problem. Oh well, I'm not up for watching wildebeest get it on while I clean up their shit. Most of these were pretty disturbing and pretty disgusting. Let's just say I'm glad I have a cozy job. Do you ever go into strangers' homes for your job? What's the craziest thing you've seen? Let us know in the comments below, and please don't forget to subscribe to Starface Productions and hit the bell icon for more updates. Of course, the thumbs up button needs some love as well. Bye!